Hello and welcome to SaaS Marketing Insights, the show where we ask SaaS founders, CEOs, marketers and investors about the lessons they've learned in their quest to grow their companies. My name is Paul Stevenson and I'm founder and CEO of SaaS marketing agency 47 Insights. On today's show, I have an interview with Vinima Aggarwal, founder of GetSetGo Marketing. Hope you enjoy it. Vinima Aggarwal, welcome to SaaS Marketing Insights.
Thank you, Paul. My pleasure to be here on your show.
I'm still laughing because we were just talking now about your background, and it made me smile so much. So you started out as an engineer, and then went into the world of tech marketing. And you've had some interesting developments along the way. So why don't you start off by telling us about how you got started as an engineer and what made you change to become a marketer, and then how did your career progress from there?
Sure. So I started off as an engineer immediately right after my graduation. I went after my master's degree in computer engineering. I went to school in the East Coast. And then my first job was that of actually an application writer. And, it was not a SaaS distribution model. It was like a software that was sent to customers via email, like a zip file, a tar file. And I wrote applications in C++, and it was an electronic design automation company. So I was using hardware description languages. It was an interesting world. And I was one of the only engineers in a team of in a bootstrapped, actually that was a bootstrap startup. And so about 4 years down the line, I was working with these world-class engineers, and I was like, I kind of took a deep inventory of my own skills and where I wanted to do, what I wanted to be. I was like, you know what? I really don't think I want to be as good as they are. I don't want to be. I don't want to put in the effort because that's not my passion. That's not my calling. I really like to be in front of people. And that's when I decided, okay, I want to pivot in the world of marketing. But as I was working in a bootstrap startup, and like all the bootstrapper friends they know, they were serving. The company was very successful, and it did not want to go beyond a certain size. And they're like, we don't have a need for a marketer. So if you want to go into marketing, you're on your own. So that's essentially. I was again in the Wild West, and I had to figure my way out. And they were like, okay, how do I pivot from being a marketer, from an engineer to a marketer? And then I had this very bright idea. I just wanted to move back to India.
So you're in the US, and then you move back to India to change from engineer to marketer. Is that
actually,
correct?
Product management. So I was, and another interesting thing happened. I was a product manager I work for India's the biggest online dating company. It's called Shadi.com. It's equivalent to Match.com. And so they were coming up with this product called Shadi Pages, which is like the Knot for wedding-related services. And they said, we have an opening for a product manager. Would you like to come in and you own the product? Sure. I interviewed and I got in. And I led the product development, product marketing, everything. And
Wow.
the product. And that was my introduction into the world of product management and marketing. And I really enjoyed it. I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. And, there was so I kind of knew that I wanted to be a marketer and a product manager, and I wanted to be with people, and I really enjoyed it. And so then I went, this was an assignment that I took as a fun, as an experiment. I wasn't like, into the world of dating, and it was an interesting change from working for EDA company to dating company. Anyways, long story short, then I got into business school to formally get training in marketing, which I look back and think was not needed. So if you're looking to go to don't save your dollars, put that money, bootstrap something, get started. Don't do that. So
I agree.
So as a bootstrapper, I wouldn't advise that path. Anyways, I took that path. Luckily, I didn't have loans. I kind of could pay my way through it because I saved from my job. But so after that, after my business school, I was doing some assignments on the side. I had some a gig at Walmart, e-commerce, and Apple, and then came along Rockstore, which was an open source infrastructure as a service company, and they had like actually a NAS platform, network attached storage platform. And now we're talking about SaaS. I really did not know SaaS. I knew SaaS as a business model, and I didn't know that this was this hot thing. So this was my introduction into the world of SaaS. It was not really a SaaS, but it was like platform as a infrastructure as a service. It was like an AWS, but for open source. So at Rockstore, I was head of marketing, and then Rockstore, the founder made that classic mistake that I see. Anyways, I think I'll stop there. I'm deviating from the question, so maybe we'll move on to the next question.
Okay, so so Rockstore is actually like a software product, and it is a subscription, isn't it? You can download it. It's open source software. You can freely use it, but if you want the most stable version, then there's an annual subscription. So yeah, it's infrastructure as a service / SaaS. And how long were you at Rockstore?
I was about for a year and a half.
Sure.
So the biggest learning we had at Rockstore was, so it was one of those classic founder mistakes that we made, that we kind of spent most of the time and money on product development. We really did not follow the market first approach. So by the time it came to finding customers, and we were on a very good, we had a good product, we had run out of money.
But the business, it's still going now. It's successful. So did the founder learn from his mistake or her mistake?
Yes, he learned from his mistake. The company is still around. There are some open source contributors. But then as a product, so because, then again, as a biggest learning in open source products is like the pivot from being an open source project to actually an enterprise product. And that's a hard one. That's where most of these open source projects kind of they are not able to bridge that gap. So the project is still around, but I'm not. It's not a product yet, so it's not used by enterprises. And the founder had to find a job for himself because he invested 2 years. He bootstrapped it for 2.5 years, 3 years actually, and then he did not follow a market first approach. And then actually, once he had exhausted all his money, he found Rob Walling's book, Start Small, Stay Small. It's like, why did I not find this before?
Great. Yeah. So that's Rob Walling of Drip fame and Microconf and Startups for the Rest of Us, a hero to the Bootstrap community. So and as I understand it, so at what stage? So you were in India and then you moved back to the US, got this job with Rockstore, and since then, I believe you've had a family. Yes. And tell us about the latest development that you're working on and how that has changed your thinking on marketing.
Yes. So I founded this consulting called GetSetGo Marketing, and then the whole idea after I pivoted from Rockstore, I was on a maternity leave for 2.5 years, and then I kind of was thinking about what would be my next step and how am I going to reinvent myself as a marketer? Where do I belong? Where do I fit in? What role? What really defines me? And it was very hard to find a box that really fit me. So I was like, okay, let me position myself as a content writer. And then with that identity, I launched GetSetGo Marketing, bootstrapped it, launched it in December of 2018 formally. And then I had I put up a website and I started looking for clients, but something within me was not feeling right. I was like, I come from this diverse background and I can write content, but I'm not sure if this is, and I did write content for Rockstore, but And then I had a chance to come to MicroConf in March, and then I heard some speakers who were content marketers. I was like, and then actually there was one speaker, Asia Matters, and she influenced me. And I was like, you know what? I'm actually not really a content marketer. I'm really a growth marketer. And my success at Rockstore was helping them find their initial traction to build that open source community and, to use the growth channels. And that's, and then and then I was like, I'm now, and so GetSetGo Marketing is now at a point where I'm repositioning it. My current website is about content marketing, but I think in 2 months, my goal is to change that into message into that of a growth marketer. So that is my venture, and I created success at Rockstore by being able to build their open source community, find a funnel where we found our contributors, we found initial customers, we found our first university customers through that funnel. So that was my success, and that's a template I followed. There was discussion at MicroConf. There was a book called Traction, and I implemented that framework. So I think and that's what I want to offer for now as a service, growth marketing as a service, and that's what my company is about. GetSetGo Marketing.
I think that's great. And I think that's much more in line with your engineering background. I mean, the problem for me with content marketing and just content is, yeah, I mean, there is some science behind content and, the strategy and the framework and the way that you go about doing it. But as a growth marketer, you get to run experiments, which is a lot more of the scientific model, right? And as a content marketer, it's really hard to tell how your stuff is, whether it's working or not.
Yes. I mean, they do measure in terms of number of clicks and number of shares, in terms of the virality of the content. But again, it's very hard to predict, how the content would do. And
Yeah, I think that's right. That's right. So, so tell me about how. So you've had a number of really interesting journeys. I think you started out in engineering. You moved from India to the US to go to a college, and then moved back to India, and then moved back to the US. And you started this career in engineering, pivoted to marketing, and now you've positioned what you do in marketing much more finely and more in line with actually what your passion is.
yes.
So is there any chance that you're going to go back to India?
And I really hope not India, but really I would love to be in a situation where I can have the ability to work from anywhere in the world.
Exactly.
And I would love to be in India because I see this lot of startup energy and coming in, and lots of interesting ideas coming in, and I would love to work with people. And that's what I found out in my time I was in India. I met my friends who were doing all kinds of interesting startups. They had interesting ideas, and some of them are doing really well right now.
Yeah.
So energy is really infectious.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the Indian startup scene or SaaS scene, but I do know that there's a hell of a lot of engineers and marketers in Silicon Valley who started off in India and went with the money, I guess.
Yeah.
But if that talent was in India and working with Indian companies, the true power of India as a nation and the people is unbelievable because they're so spread all over the world doing all of the work that if they were all contained and concentrating in India, you guys would really punch a lot higher in the world than it currently looks. So I think there is a ton of opportunity. I'd definitely like to know more about the Indian SaaS and tech and marketing scene.
It's happening. Like we have all kinds of meetups, open source meetups in India, whatever technology is happening in India, people are actually using it, and you'll be surprised with the kind of things that are happening in India, really. In every aspect of technology,
Yeah.
be it Kubernetes or open source or bootstrapping, people are doing very interesting stuff.
Hmm.
And that is my inspiration. Like, that is my why to be actually a part of that scene, as well as in the US. If I can do that in terms of my vision, I think I've found it. That's my passion,
Yeah.
and being able to build a business around that. That's it. That's where I want to exist, and that's the big why behind GetSetGo Marketing.
Yeah. So let's see if we can find you a client. So who would be your ideal client? Because actually, you don't want to work for everyone, and you don't want hundreds of clients. You probably only need a handful, maybe one or two really good ones. So, what sort of organization, what sort of size, what sort of industry would you think that you would be able to work best with?
So I think I work best with engineers, tech founders, and a startup that the founder values marketing. They really value the market first approach, but they just don't have the time or the bandwidth or even the skills to be good at that. And that's where I come in, and I help them with setting up their marketing. And because what startups are really looking for is growth, and I come in and help them with understanding their audience, where their audience is, and defining the product positioning, and then finding channels that help them get that initial traction. So in terms of size, I would say it is like it's a team of 5 to 10. It's They have funding and they believe in marketing. It's like they believe in that market first approach, because I see a lot of founders make that mistake. I just was talking to a company yesterday, and the classic mistake the founder has made. It's a very interesting product. It's an AI product, and it's ready. It's almost ready, but they don't have a market for it, and they're just on the verge of. They've run out of the funding, and they don't have much time, and now they want to find the market, and it's like no, 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 no. This had to be done like 2 years in advance. You have to find your audience first, and then build a product. So learning from that lessons, and also from Rockstore, I would really like to work with a founder who understands marketing and wants to do that at the early start part of the product development cycle. So that would be my ideal client.
That sounds fantastic, and I think you're so right. How soon should you start? Well, you should be starting marketing when you're starting coding, when you're planning at the same time.
Right.
Fantastic. Vinima, thank you very much for insights into what's been an interesting career so far. I think you're right on the money with your move into growth marketing. I think it definitely suits the way that you think and the passion that you have for growth. And I wish you a ton of luck with it. Let me know how you get on.
Yes, thank you so much, Paul, for having me on this podcast and taking the time to ask for my insights and discussing my career. Appreciate it. Appreciate this opportunity a lot. Thanks for giving founders like me who are on the very early part of their entrepreneurial journeys to have a platform to voice our what we think and where we want to go. So, which I think is very important.
I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Vinima. For more info on GetSetGo Marketing, please visit www.getsetgomarketing.com. For more info about this show and to get our links to iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher and YouTube, check out www.47insights.com. And if you have any SaaS marketing insights that you'd like to share on the show, please get in touch. Until next time.